I credit a lot of my growth during my healing journey from books that I've read. All of these books have either changed my life in some way or they've changed my perspective on things that I've experienced. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my top favorite books that's helped me on my healing journey and how they can help you too. Hi, I'm Missy. Welcome to Healing for Brown Girls, where we have conversations about healing for women. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit the like and the subscribe button below so that you can be notified every time I post a new video. I have loved reading ever since I was a little girl, so that carried into my adulthood. So it only made sense that when I started my healing journey a few years ago, any book that I found that I feel like could be a help to me on my journey, I picked it up and read it. Or if there was a book that was recommended to me by my therapist or my coach, I made sure I pretty much read every single book that they recommended. In my opinion, there's nothing new under the sun, so I felt like if I was experiencing something or struggling in a certain area, there had to be a book that could help me understand the concept better or understand that experience better. And that's exactly what happened whenever I read any of these books that I'm going to present today. I feel like books are a great way for us to learn and for us to learn from other people, especially those who have mastered certain areas that maybe we haven't yet. In today's video, all of the books that I'm going to present have all helped me in some way along my journey. And what I found out when I was reading these books is that a lot of them pulled from each other. And a lot of the concepts that I learned from one book really helped me understand another concept further from a different book. Okay, so the first book is The Grief Recovery Handbook, the action program for moving beyond death, divorce, and other losses, including health, career, and faith, by John W. James and Russell Friedman. This book right here is so amazing. So this is actually the first and only book I've ever read about grief. And my coach is actually the one who recommended this book to me. And this book really gave me the jump that I needed when I was going through the grieving process with my dad, because it really helped me to understand what grief is. Prior to reading this book, I had common knowledge about grief, but I realized that I only associated grief with the loss of a person. And when reading this book, the authors do a really good job about explaining the different types of grief that we experience throughout life. And when I was reading this book, I went in thinking that, this was going to only be about me grieving the loss of my father, when really I realized that I had so many other things to grieve. So, anything from divorce, if you've had a significant move in your life, or if you had any major change, then you really need to actually go through that grieving process because you've lost a familiar pattern in your life. Another reason why I absolutely love this book is that there are exercises and homework assignments in the book, and towards the end you actually end up writing what's called a grief recovery letter. And in that letter, there are specific directions on how to write the letter, who you should read it to, and when you should read the letter. And writing that letter really truly helped me release so many emotions that I had pent up and built up about the loss of my father and other things that I needed to grieve as well. When you do the grief recovery completion letter from this book, I love it because the authors really do a good job with helping you as the reader just be honest and taking out a lot of the emotion from your grief. When I read this book, it was nice to be able to just state the facts with all of the experiences I had with either a particular thing or a particular process that I was grieving, and to not make it right or wrong. And I love this book because they have the idea that grief should be a complete process, because a lot of times we may feel like we have grieved a certain person, place, but then we find that we still have so much built up emotions around that person or that process. And so that is when you know that your grief is not incomplete. So here's one of my favorite quotes from this book. If you are asking for forgiveness, you are really trying to apologize for something you have said or done. Don't try, do it. Don't ask for forgiveness, make an apology. And again, this is what I mean by with this book, they do a really good job with just you stating the facts, getting right to it, and really taking ownership of your own grieving process. I can go on and on about this book, about how much I love it, because again, for me, it has truly made a dent in my healing journey with as far as my growth and how far I've been able to come along. And it really helped me do so much better with grieving the loss of my dad. And I can't credit my coach enough for recommending this book, because she knew exactly what she was doing, because it really has helped me so much. This book is one that I'm going to keep forever. Anytime I have any major change in my life, any new thing that I have to grieve, we're human, we're gonna lose people throughout our lives. So if I ever need to refer back to this book, I will. And this is such a gem. The second book is The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. So this book is special to me because it was actually a gift from my coach. And if you have heard of the book, The Four Agreements, this is actually the same author. And I've heard really good things about that book. It's on my reading list. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I know it's a worldwide bestseller and everybody talks about how good that book is. This is actually a book where I could find something to highlight on every page. I mean, he did such a great job with breaking down the concept of love. And what I love about this book is it doesn't talk about just being in relationships with other people, but it talks about the relationship that you have to self. Actually, every concept that he gave in the book, he actually brought it back to yourself. And it was a very easy read because the way he broke down his concepts were very easy to digest and understand. And I also love the examples that he also gave in this book. In this book, his biggest thing is the fear beliefs that we have around love and how a lot of times we suffer when it comes to love. And he really does such a good job in explaining how everything that you experience in a relationship is a direct reflection of you. So for an example, if you're someone who always finds yourself in abusive relationships, or you're always loving a certain type of person, what aspects of yourself are you abusing? Or if you're finding yourself in relationships with people that are maybe neglectful, how are you neglecting yourself? I mean, it was just like a smack in the face with this book, because again, like I mentioned earlier, everything he talks about comes back to self. And it really helped me to understand how we as humans have a very skewed perspective of love. And it really also had me evaluate, where did I learn about love? Like the images that I saw in the media, my parents. I mean, all of these experiences that I've had really shaped my perspective on love, and I realized that I was doing it all wrong, and maybe I was a little toxic in my previous relationships as well with other people. And as I mentioned, it's not just for romantic relationships. He covers platonic relationships. He covers, again, the relationship with yourself, the love relationship with yourself, and how certain fears or certain things that you may perceive about yourself affects how you are in relationships with other people. Here is one of my favorite quotes in this book. We are so afraid to love because it isn't safe to love. The fear of rejection frightens us. We have to pretend to be what we are not. We try to be accepted by our partner when we don't accept ourselves. But the problem is not that our partner rejects us. The problem is that we reject ourselves because we are not good enough, because that is what we believe. That passage really pretty much sums up a lot of the concept in his book. What you believe, the fears that you have, the limited beliefs that you have will ultimately affect the way you are in relationships with other people. And if you find that you keep repeating the same patterns and you keep having the same outcomes, it's really time for you to evaluate yourself and how you love other people and how you love yourself. Again, I can go on and on about this book as well. I love this book. This is a book that I really want to be able to read every year, because I feel like every time I read this book, I'm going to gain something new from it. So if you want a book that's going to be easy to read and really help you understand the concept of love and what love is, especially unconditional love, this is the perfect book. The next book is Real Love and Freedom for the Soul: Eliminating the Chains of Victimhood by Greg Bayer. Okay, so this was one of those books that I picked up, I would put it down. I picked it up, I would put it down. It took me forever to actually sit down and read this book from start to finish because it was so much. And I think maybe at the time I wasn't quite ready to grasp or accept the concepts that he has in these books. I mean, it's like a gut punch because everything that I thought I knew about love, being a victimhood, all of those beliefs came crashing down once I actually read this book. After reading this book and seeing how in depth he goes about loving people, I believe that 80% of us are not conscious enough to be able to love other humans unconditionally. I mean, I never understood the concept of unconditional love until I read this book, and then I realized that we all been doing it wrong, or the majority of us been doing it wrong. And it's crazy, right? Because in our society, we use the word love so loosely. Everything is I love you, you love me. But I realize a lot of us don't even understand the concept of love, and we can't even begin to understand how to actually love other people unconditionally. And I also learned from this book that love, or understanding love, is a lifelong journey. Also, I love this book because he uses real life experiences to explain the concepts from his book. This book really helped me to understand how a lot of us victimize love and how a lot of us live in a state of victimhood all the time. Even from my own personal experiences while reading this book, I really got to see how I have been a victim in so many situations and so many relationships in my life. He really makes you accountable for your own actions, and he doesn't make anything right or wrong. So many times I feel like a lot of us may manipulate other people into loving us or loving us the way we want to be loved. And I think a lot of us do that without even knowing it's manipulation. Or we make demands from other people that we know they're not capable of giving us. This is the author's definition of real love. Real love is caring about the happiness of another person without any thought for what we might get for ourselves. And he also stresses on the behaviors and the things that we do to be victims. We blame other people and make other people wrong for our own unhappiness or for things going wrong in our life. He explains in this book that being a human being, there's no way to love or be in relationships with other humans and not being inconvenienced, because people are going to have bad days, things are going to happen to other people, and that's just part of our experience. And he also talks about how we punish other people for their mistake versus seeing how their mistakes could be an opportunity to help them. This is actually a book that I want to read again because all of the concepts in the book I felt like were kind of hard for me to process all at once. And while I was reading the book, and I feel like if I go back and read this book, I'll take even more from his concepts in the book. The fourth book is Your Soul's Gift: The Healing Power of the Life You Planned Before You Were Born, by Robert Schwartz. Ooh, this book here. So this book was also recommended by my coach. And when I first read this book, it just wowed me in so many different ways. So let me first say this. If you are someone that believes in organized religion and you're not yet open to how maybe we could have possibly came to this world and what happens after we leave this world, then this book may be a trigger for you. And also, if you are someone that have experienced very sensitive things in your life and you're not yet to expand your consciousness around those things, then this book may also be a trigger for you. And I say that because the concept of this book is that he believes in pre-birth planning, and essentially means that we as souls, we had a contract with our soul prior to being in the physical form in this world, that we would experience every single thing that we're experiencing in this life, and this is the life that we actually wanted. And he also talks about how we actually may contract with other souls so that they can teach us lessons on this earth. The whole concept of the book is wild, but I really had an open mind when I was reading this book. A lot of it did really make sense. In this book, he actually uses psychics and mediums that have conversations with some of his clients in the book, and he actually recorded those conversations to help explain why they chose a certain soul contract. But it was so informative, and at the very least, it helped me to understand that everything that I had gone through was not in vain. There had to be some kind of purpose. He really helps me to understand how you heal when you find meaning or you start to understand why you may be experiencing something. And like I said, he really does cover a lot of sensitive topics in this book. And I think it really gives the reader an opportunity to think, what if? And that's kind of the mindset that I had in this book. What if I did have a contract with myself that I would experience these things? How could that move me forward in life? What can I learn? So this is actually one of my favorite quotes from the book. Because what we experience outside ourselves is always a projection of our inner reality, it is not possible for us to be in non-judgment of another until we are wholly in non-judgment of ourselves. If there has been one trend that I've learned from all these books, is that everything starts with ourselves. If we want to heal, it's going to require us looking at ourselves, our experiences, and being honest with the things that we need to deal with. Last but not least is Spiritual Growth, Being Your Higher Self by Sanaya Roman. This book is so special to me because I know exactly where I was when I picked this book up. And this was right in the beginning of when I really started taking my journey seriously. In this book, she talks about spiritual growth in a very practical way. She includes meditations at the end of each chapter for you to do, and each meditation goes along with the teachings in that chapter. The sole purpose in this book is for us to learn to be our higher selves. So it's about raising our vibration, our frequency. It's about understanding that there are different planes. And again, if you're someone who is only comfortable with organized religion, this book may be a trigger too, because she really talks about how we live in different planes and how we experience certain things in different planes, which I actually believe. So this book was very easy for me to understand. And another big thing, this book, she talks about light. So she talks about how light helps us heal. If you have a certain area in your body or you have a certain emotion, if you bring a light to that area, then it helps heal it. And again, the way she wrote this book is very practical. And I love that she incorporates healing in everyday life. So it's not like you need to go off by yourself for 30 days somewhere or for a year and travel the world and heal. This is not a eat, pray, and love type of book. She really talks about learning to heal yourself throughout every experience that you have. So whether you're going through a new experience or you're going through a challenging time in your life, she helps you to understand how you can grow through that experience to reach your higher self. This is one of my favorite quotes from her book. Spiritual growth comes from loving yourself as you are now, not from making yourself wrong because you haven't reached some imaginary ideal of perfection. You are perfect as you are now. I have so many highlights throughout this book. I mean, I found so many gems in this book. I learned so much about myself and experiences. And my biggest takeaway from this book was that it's not about me staying where I'm at, but it's about moving forward. I really learned that through all of the bad things at the time that I felt like I was going through and needed experience, that it was just a part of my story and that I could still reach where I wanted to go. I could, I would wake up and there would be a new day. I still had the opportunity to reach my higher self. And in order to be able to reach my higher self, I had to understand that there are going to be challenges in my life, but I don't have to struggle. I'm looking for a great book about spirituality. It may be something to start with. I feel like this is a great book because her concepts are very easy to understand. And like I said, she incorporates spiritual growth in every aspect of your life. So these are my top 5 books that have helped me on my healing journey. I mean, over the years, I have read so many books. I typically read 1 book a month. In my opinion, all of these books feed off of each other some way, somehow, because they all require for us to go within and for us to look at ourselves, and everything starts with ourselves. Every aspect of our healing begins with us. So I hope you enjoyed all of the books that I talked about today. I'm going to link every book down below, and I hope you are inspired to read at least 1 book that I mentioned. If you have any questions about the books that I've mentioned or about anything else, please feel free to email me at healingforbrown girls@gmail.com. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share with a friend. See you in the next video. Bye. Okay.